Most people have experienced it. Someone criticizes us, ignores us, rejects us, or simply gives us a disapproving look, and the experience stays with us. We replay the conversation in our minds. We wonder what we should have said. We think about how we were perceived. Sometimes a brief interaction can influence our mood for hours or even days. This raises an interesting question. Why do we care so much about what other people think? Why would the brain devote so much attention to social approval, acceptance, and belonging? Why do the opinions of others often feel important, even when they come from people we barely know? Scientists have spent decades studying human social behavior, and what they discovered suggests that caring about other people's opinions may not simply be a personality trait. It may be connected to ancient survival systems that helped humans stay connected to the groups they depended on. Today, belonging often feels emotional or psychological. But for most of human history, belonging was also practical. The people around you could help provide food, protection, knowledge, support, and cooperation. Being accepted by the group increased the chances of surviving difficult conditions. This led researchers to ask an important question. If social connection helped humans survive, did the brain evolve systems specifically designed to protect that connection? To find the answer, scientists began studying how people respond to acceptance, criticism, rejection, and belonging. What they discovered was unexpected. People often react to social experiences far more strongly than the situations themselves would seem to justify. Why would the brain give social experiences so much power? Researchers began studying how people respond to criticism, rejection, embarrassment, and social judgment. What they found was surprising. Many social experiences leave a much larger impact than the events themselves. A brief criticism can be remembered for years. An embarrassing moment may return to mind long after everyone else has forgotten it. A rejection can influence confidence, decisions, and future behavior. Scientists notice that social experiences often affect emotions, attention, memory, and behavior more strongly than many other everyday events. This raised an important question. If a social interaction lasts only a few moments, why can its effects last so much longer? The answer suggested that the brain may treat social information differently from other kinds of information. Rather than simply reacting when something happens, researchers found evidence that the brain is constantly paying attention to the social world around us. It appears to be monitoring relationships all the time, even when we're not consciously aware of it. But what exactly is the brain looking for? What kinds of social signals is the brain constantly monitoring? To answer that question, researchers began examining the information people constantly receive from the social world around them. Every conversation contains signals. Every facial expression contains signals. Every change in tone of voice contains signals. Even eye contact can provide information. Scientists discovered that the brain continuously monitors cues related to acceptance, trust, cooperation, respect, and belonging. Most of this happens automatically. We are often unaware that these evaluations are taking place. Yet the brain is constantly collecting information and asking questions. Can this person be trusted? Is this relationship becoming stronger or weaker? Am I being accepted or rejected? Am I safe within this social environment? Researchers sometimes describe this process as social monitoring. The brain is not simply reacting to events after they happen. It is actively gathering information and updating its understanding of the people around us. But this creates another mystery. Monitoring social information requires energy and resources. Why would the brain spend so much effort tracking acceptance, trust, and belonging? Why did social connection become so important in the first place? To understand why the brain monitors social connection so closely, we need to look at the environment in which humans evolved. Today, it is possible for someone to live alone, buy food alone, travel alone, and solve many daily problems independently. For most of human history, that was not the case. Early humans survived through cooperation. Groups helped find food, share resources, care for children, and protect one another from danger. Knowledge was also passed from person to person. Learning where to find water, which foods were safe to eat, and how to avoid threats often depended on other people. Being connected to the group increased the chances of survival. Losing that connection could create serious risks. This is why researchers believe belonging became biologically valuable. The people around you were not simply companions. They were part of the system that helped you stay alive. Over thousands of generations, the brain adapted to this reality. If social connection influenced survival, paying attention to relationships became useful. The brain benefited from noticing changes in trust, cooperation, and acceptance before those changes became larger problems. But if belonging became so important, how did the brain actually adapt to protect it? What kind of system evolved to monitor social connection? If belonging increased the chances of survival, then the brain benefited from paying attention to anything that could strengthen or weaken social relationships. Researchers believe this is why humans developed sophisticated systems for monitoring social information. The brain constantly gathers clues from the people around us. It notices changes in behavior, changes in tone of voice, changes in cooperation, changes in trust. Even subtle shifts in social interactions can provide information about the state of a relationship. This process is often automatic. Most people are unaware of how much social information their brains are collecting throughout the day. The goal is not to judge every interaction. The goal is to stay informed about the social environment. Who can be trusted? Who is supportive? Who may be becoming distant? Who is willing to cooperate? From a survival perspective, having accurate information about relationships could help people make better decisions and respond more effectively to challenges. Over time, social awareness became part of the brain's adaptive toolkit. But gathering information is only part of the story. The brain does not simply monitor the social world. It also tries to predict what might happen next. Why does the brain constantly try to predict social outcomes? One of the brain's most important jobs is prediction. Rather than waiting for events to happen, the brain is constantly trying to anticipate what might happen next. Researchers often describe the brain as a prediction engine because it continuously uses past experiences and current information to build expectations about the future. This helps reduce uncertainty. The more predictable the environment becomes, the easier it is for the brain to prepare appropriate responses. Social information plays an important role in this process. Every interaction provides clues about relationships. A supportive conversation may suggest that a relationship is becoming stronger. A change in someone's behavior may suggest that something is different. The brain uses these signals to update its predictions about trust, cooperation, acceptance, and future interactions. In other words, the brain is not monitoring social information out of curiosity. It is monitoring social information because those signals help reduce uncertainty about the people around us. For thousands of years, being able to predict the behavior of others could improve cooperation, strengthen relationships, and increase the chances of survival. But this raises another question. If the brain uses social information to make predictions, why do negative social experiences often affect us more strongly than positive ones? Why can criticism feel more powerful than praise? If the brain is constantly monitoring relationships and predicting social outcomes, then criticism becomes more than a simple comment. Researchers believe the brain often evaluates not only what was said, but what the information might mean. A critical remark may be interpreted as a signal. Has trust changed? Has acceptance changed? Has this relationship changed? The brain automatically looks beyond the words themselves and searches for possible implications. This helps explain why criticism can sometimes feel more powerful than praise. Positive feedback confirms what the brain already hopes is true. Negative feedback, however, may signal that something important could be changing. Because the brain evolved to pay attention to information that might affect social connection, criticism often receives additional attention. People replay conversations, analyze details, revisit what happened, not because they enjoy doing it, but because the brain is trying to understand whether the information represents a meaningful change in the social environment. The reaction is often less about the words themselves and more about what the words might predict. But if criticism once helped people protect important relationships, why do these reactions still occur in situations that have little impact on survival today? Why does an ancient survival system still influence modern life? The social monitoring systems that helped humans survive developed over thousands of generations. The world those systems evolved in was very different from the world we live in today. For early humans, losing the support of a group could create serious challenges. Cooperation, trust, and belonging often affected access to protection, resources, and opportunities for survival. Today, most social situations do not carry the same consequences. A disagreement on social media is not the loss of a tribe. A negative comment does not remove access to food or protection. A moment of embarrassment rarely threatens survival. Yet the same systems that evolved long ago are still active. The brain continues to monitor social information because it was designed to pay attention to signals that once mattered greatly. This does not mean the system is broken. In many situations, social awareness remains useful. The challenge is that ancient survival mechanisms are operating within a modern environment that is very different from the one in which they developed. As a result, the brain may sometimes react strongly to situations that no longer carry the same level of importance. Which brings us back to the question we started with. If social connection shaped the evolution of these systems, what does that tell us about why we care so much about what other people think? What is the real purpose of this social survival system? When we connect all the pieces, a clearer picture begins to emerge. The brain is not trying to make us popular. It is not trying to win approval from everyone we meet. And it is not constantly asking whether people like us. What the brain is really trying to do is monitor and protect social connection. For most of human history, belonging was not simply a social preference. It increased the chances of survival. Groups provided protection, cooperation, knowledge, support, and resources that individuals often could not secure alone. Because social connection mattered so much, the brain evolved systems that learned to monitor acceptance, trust, cooperation, and belonging. Over time, these systems became part of how humans navigate relationships and the social world around them. This helps explain why criticism can feel powerful, why rejection can be difficult, why acceptance feels rewarding, and why other people's opinions can sometimes seem more important than we would like them to be. The reaction is not simply about the present moment. It is the result of ancient systems that evolved to help humans stay connected to the groups that supported their survival. Understanding this does not eliminate the need for belonging, but it helps explain where that need comes from. And sometimes, understanding a system is the first step towards seeing it differently.